Thanks to the good old interwebs, there's a lot of fake facts floating around, and we tend to believe anything that sounds weird is false. These facts sound like they just can't be true, but they are. Well, technically.
Let's dig into this.
In 1740, an orphan baby rhino was adopted by a sea captain and taken back to his home in the Netherlands. Clara became a well-loved, quite domesticated pet. She would also quickly become the toast of Europe and the most famous celebrity of her day.
Less than half a dozen rhinos had ever been seen in Europe, and everyone just had to see Clara. She was such a hit, her owner, Captain Vandermeer, took her on a tour of Europe, a tour that would last 17 years, and people went crazy for her. She traveled in a carriage pulled by at least 8 horses, and folks paid a pretty penny to have a look.
Drawings, poems, and songs were created about her. The French Navy named one of their vessels Rhinoceros in 1751 in her honor. And in Paris, it became fashionable to wear wigs designed to look like they had a horn. Clara met all the great heads of Europe, and all were delighted with her. She was the most famous rhino and biggest star of her day.
The oldest thing on Earth isn't from Earth. And while that may make sense, the rest of the story is mind-blowing.
On the morning of September 28, 1969, a fireball zoomed through the sky near Murchison, Victoria, Australia. It broke into pieces that created tremors when they hit the ground, with at least one piece punching through the roof of a house. Debris covered about 5 square miles, and the collected pieces weighed over 200 pounds.
Of course, scientists have studied these pieces ever since, and they've made a lot of discoveries. In 2020, it was reported that the silicon carbide grains within the Murchison meteorite are actually pre-solar, older than the Earth, older than the Sun, older than the whole solar system, by about 3 billion years, making the 7 billion-year-old stardust the oldest thing on Earth by billions of years.
If you use social media, you may have seen a hugely popular meme that claims samurai could have sent President Abraham Lincoln a fax and wondered if it's true, and why they would want to do that.
Technically, they could have. The samurai existed until 1867 or 1868, and Lincoln was assassinated in 1865. And believe it or not, the fax machine was invented in 1843. But it wasn't until 1862 and the development of the pentelegraph that handwriting and images could be sent along with telegraph lines. This service was only available between Paris and Lyon, France, starting in 1863, and there are no reports of it being used in the US in Lincoln's lifetime.
Another fact that sounds made up has made the rounds on social media for a while now. And while saying the last guillotine execution in France happened the same year as Star Wars came out may not elicit more than a response of, "Oh," from some, if you think about it, it's kinda crazy.
The last French execution by guillotine was in September of 1977, and Star Wars premiered in May of that year. So theoretically, you could have left the theater after watching the most realistic movie about spaceships we had ever seen at that point, and hurry over to watch the last execution using the beheading machine used for over 200 years and made infamous by the French Revolution.
Well, you could have if it had been a public execution, but France had banned them in 1939 after the audience at one beheading became hysterical.
You could have taken a train before you could ride a bicycle, which somehow doesn't make sense. You would think the bike is simple, and the steam engine is a whole lot more complicated, so the bike must be ancient in comparison. But it isn't.
The swift walker, also called a dandy horse or a running machine, is considered the first bicycle and was invented in 1817 in Germany. It was shaped like a modern bike, but it had no pedals or brakes. You just kind of used your feet to push yourself along or stop.
The modern safety bicycle with pedals and brakes wasn't developed until the end of the 1800s and were expensive, hard to use, and weighing around 80 pounds. But the upper crust of both Europe and America fell in love with them.
On the other hand, the steam engine had been known since the 1st century AD, with Scottish inventor William Murdoch building a steam locomotive prototype in 1784, and the first working railway system locomotive built for passengers was called the Catch Me Who Can and started service in 1808, almost a decade before the Swift Walker was invented.
Thanks for watching.
Don't forget to like and subscribe. Hey, here's another DragonDen video you might like.
And if you like this video, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button.
And you can hit the notification bell if you'd like to know when our videos come out.
Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.